All right, so we have been through the negotiating process with the seller. We've negotiated the purchase price, the closing costs, the home warranty, everything else we can ask for. We've settled on a closing date. Now what happens? So once we have an accepted contract, which means that the buyer and seller, all parties have signed it and they have been delivered, we now have an inspection period. Typically the inspection period for this area is 10 days, and that starts the day after everybody has signed and it has gone pending. During that 10-day period, we can have anybody that we want to come in and look at the home. Typically, you can hire a home inspector. It's roughly around $400. And what the home inspector's job is to do is to point out potential issues with the home. Now, just because it is on the report does not necessarily mean it is an issue. Like I said before, the inspector is there to point out potential issues, and they're going to flag a lot of little things. So even if the counter has a chip in it, if a door has a crack, if something doesn't close completely, if a window's not shutting properly, they're going to point out a lot of little things. Now, as soon as you get this report, you're going to say, oh my gosh, this home is terrible, it's going to fall apart, I don't want to buy it. That is not the case. A home is like buying a used car. There's going to be some bumps and bruises, but the inspection report is looking for what's called material defects. A material defect can be the structure, the roof, or the furnace, the AC, is the plumbing working. Major issues that directly affect the value of the home. It is not the little cosmetic issues of, once again, a crack in the counter, crack in the drywall, if a drawer doesn't necessarily close all the way. So material defects is what we're looking for. Things that directly affect the value of the home, and that is the purpose of the inspection period. If the inspector points something out, say for example, hey, there are cracks in the foundation, you need to get that looked at by a specialist, then we would bring in the specialist. Now the inspector is looking at the big picture. The specialists are the ones that are going to look at, is it actually an issue or not? So the inspector points out potential issues. The specialists are going to verify, is it an issue or not? So that is, once we get that report, we go through and find, is it just purely cosmetic, typical home maintenance things, or is it in fact a material defect? So once again, once we get this report, and reports can vary from 30 pages, and we've seen them up to 200 something pages, it just depends on the inspector. Don't freak out, we will go through it, and a lot of times the inspectors will have you meet at the home after the inspection so they can walk you through and say, hey, everything is good, here's what I keep an eye on, and then that way you're not surprised when you get the report and what the inspector says, hey, this is what I would definitely take a look at or just keep an eye on, or hey, it could be just a $5 fix. So just keep that in mind during the inspection period. It's going to look way worse than what it actually is. And the other thing to take away from it is that a home is like buying a used car. There's bumps and bruises, but the important thing are the bones and the structure and the house itself in good shape. More times than not, it is.